Okay, now that I'm in my 70s, I'm going to give you an example of being single, divorced, in my 40s. So you're talking about the 80s, okay? So I was through my divorce, had alimony, had child support, raising 3 kids. I mean, I got the whole story. And so one of my objectives was, marry or date, what I would call date, but I thought I was still dating without committing and marriage and all this. Here's the problem. I was attracting women that were 10, 15 years younger than me. And I already had my kids. So I started dating this woman that was introduced to me at a softball game. I was playing men's softball, that kind of a co-ed softball. And then one of my buddies was saying, Rock, you should meet this girl and come to this party afterwards and so on. Well, I went to the party. And even though I was still kind of shy, man, because I was already married, had 3 kids, and most of these girls and women were in their 20s while I was in my 30s. Well, I was probably looked at as a catch, because here's a guy that's established, but guess what? They wanted kids. And so I want to give you a story. It's a true story. I met this girl, Irish Catholic. She was a great girl, great family, and a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun. And I introduced her to my kids after about a year of dating her and exposing her to my family. And a lot of my family had cabins, and they had boats, and they had, we were party guys, Italian, a lot of parties, big family. I'm one of 11. So during the 80s and early 90s, I was running a business, 150 employees, growing a business. So I was in front of, I had a business community, you know what I mean? And I was a role model. And I cared that I was the face of the company. And I was also had a reputation of integrity and ethics like my father did, which I was proud of. Well, I would party with this girl, man. And it was a lot of fun. But I was accustomed to, okay, let's go away for the weekend. Let's go a couple 100 miles. Let's spend the night. And it was rock and roll. And this girl was not only fun, she was beautiful. And I'd be on a dance floor with her, and guys would be bumping in all wasted and stuff and knocking into me and stuff, and go and actually say to her, let's go with her name, Annie. Let's just call her Annie. And I'll never forget, I'm dancing with her, and, I'm kind of reserved. I'm a professional, and I just can't let it go. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, this kid knocks into me. He's shorter than me, and he's all wasted. And he says to Annie, come dance with me instead of Grandpa. And I didn't have gray hair back at that time. But, I was established, And she was hot, man. And not only hot, a lot of fun, and a good girl. You know what I mean? A good girl. And all my friends and who I exposed her to, and they all loved her. And it was great. It was great. So I'm going to kind of fast forward. I was talking to my dad about actually marrying her. I was at Harvard Business School. I was graduating. I invited my parents, and we were walking by this park that's by Cheers in Boston. And I said to my dad, I said, and they knew who Annie was. And they said, I says, Dad, she wants to get married, man. I got 3 kids. I don't know if I... My dad says, you can do it. You can still do it. You can still have kids. No problem. Well, soon after that, things were going good, but then I was back to reality, which was work and putting things together. And she was good to have a good time with and so on. But then the time came when she went back to her home for for a weekend. I stayed behind, and I didn't really think anything of it except that, she's going to go visit her parents. Well, She didn't talk to me all weekend. And I was like, whoa, she's not calling, she's not texting, and so on. This is early 90s. And then I was calling her like all weekend, man. And I eventually called her home. And I asked for her. I don't even recall. I had a mobile phone. I don't know if we had cell phones at that time. And her mother said she was gone. She wasn't available. And I believe that was a Sunday morning. And I was freaking out, thinking the worst, that, she was being entertained by another man. And so later in the day, on a Sunday, I called, because I assumed she would be home by 6 o'clock because she had to work the next day. So I called her home, which was in Minneapolis. I'm a St. Paul boy. And a kid, a male, answered the phone. And I was crushed. Because I knew she met somebody. And it was a kid from high school or something like that, small town in northern Minnesota. So I was crushed, didn't know what to do. And, I think I begged to meet her again. I fought for her. And we went out to eat and have dinner. I couldn't even think, man. My mind was all fucked up. So I was early 40s, well established, accomplished, my own business. Kids were good. Spent a lot of time with the kids coaching and stuff. But, I was in the dating mode. So we met for dinner, and I basically begged for her to be with me, and we traveled the world. I told her we'd travel the world, and she let me down really softly. And her goal, Irish Catholic, by the way, she just wanted kids, and I knew I couldn't do it. And I never really thought about her until a buddy of mine that introduced me to her back in those days with the softball game. He says, did you hear about her? I said, no. He goes, she's married. I says, cool, she's married. And she loved me for Italian and Polish. So she says she always liked dating Italian guys and stuff. And believe me, she was hot, okay? I just thought, besides the beauty, I just thought she was a great person, And she was a good caregiver for me, because I was really messed up, with the divorce and raising kids and all that. And then the workload, going to Harvard. She treated me like gold, man, And so at that dinner, she basically said, that's it. And as I mentioned before, I talked to my buddy Jeff. He said, hey, Rock, she's married now. I said, oh, good for her. Have any kids? She goes, yeah, look her up. And I looked her up in her small hometown because her father passed away, and there was a picture of her and her family, and there was a dedication to their father. Her father was an attorney, and they were good people, And what it was a picture of her. So I looked up her marriage name and Googled it, and she married an entrepreneur that was a inventor. Him and his brother are inventing products for babies. So I thought, oh, cool. And there's a picture of her and her five beautiful girls. She had 5 girls, or has 5 girls. Oh, man, I was so happy for her. And she had photos online of her and her kids without the husband. And they all look like her. Just beautiful kids. And I was so pleased to see that they gave back to their community and they donated this wing to a hospital. Her father. It's fantastic. So anyway, that's my story, And I'll give you what happened around 95 to 2005. That's the next dating period. And even though I've been married twice and divorced twice, I think I've been engaged, including the wives, probably 5 times. Yeah. 2 wives and 3 orphans. I'll talk to you guys later. I'm not talking about the Bumble guy dating. I'm talking about the Bumble guy past entertainment cycles.